In a world driven by grades, titles, and performance metrics, there's one skill that quietly shapes the future of every student. Every teacher, every leader, emotional intelligence. It's not just about being smart. It's about being human. The ability to understand emotions, manage conflict, inspire trust, and lead with empathy has become the true currency of success. Today, we're uncovering how emotional intelligence is transforming classrooms and redefining leadership, not with force, but with feeling. Get ready to explore the heart behind the mind. There are forces in this world that shape us more than we realize. They move unseen, unheard, and often unspoken. We grow up learning that intelligence is what you can calculate, memorize, recite. That leadership is commanding, directing, controlling. That education is about tests, grades, and rules. But beneath all this surface thinking lies a deeper truth. A truth that has nothing to do with numbers or authority. A truth born in the heart of every meaningful interaction and every transformational moment of growth. That truth is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not the opposite of logic, it is the missing half. It is the ability to feel and understand those feelings. To connect. To reflect. To guide others not by force, but by understanding. In classrooms, it changes how students engage. In leadership, it changes how people follow. In life, it changes everything. Let us begin a journey through the inner language of leadership and the hidden architecture of learning. One emotion at a time. 10. Emotional intelligence is the unseen curriculum. Imagine walking into a classroom. The desks are aligned. The whiteboard is clean. The lesson is planned. But what truly determines the success of that lesson is not the syllabus. It's the tone in the teacher's voice. The way they greet each student. The way they respond to a mistake, with patience or with punishment. Emotional intelligence shapes the emotional climate of every learning environment. It is what turns classrooms into communities. In educational theory, we often speak of the hidden curriculum, the things students learn that aren't written in textbooks. Respect, resilience, empathy. These are learned not through instruction, but through modeling. And that modeling begins with the teacher's emotional intelligence. 9. In leadership, EQ is the language of legacy. Great leaders are not remembered for how they managed. They are remembered for how they made people feel. In the moments that mattered, during failure, conflict, success, change, they led with emotional clarity. Emotional intelligence allows leaders to create cultures where people feel safe to speak up, take risks, and be human. Whether it's a school principal guiding a fractured faculty or a CEO leading a global team through crisis, the ability to read a room, to sense emotional undercurrents, and to navigate complexity with care, these are the hallmarks of true leadership. It's not charisma. It's emotional craftsmanship. 8. Emotionally intelligent educators create safe spaces for growth. Think back to the teacher who changed your life. It probably wasn't the one with the fanciest lectures. It was the one who looked you in the eye and saw you. Who noticed when you were struggling and didn't let you fall through the cracks. That's the power of emotional intelligence. It makes a student feel valued, capable, and seen. These educators recognize that emotional regulation is just as important as academic success. They understand that a child who acts out may be a child in pain. They offer grace, not just discipline. Support, not just structure. And because of that, they unlock something sacred, the student's trust. 7. EQ transforms leadership from control to compassion. In outdated models of leadership, power was top-down. The leader spoke. Others obeyed. But in today's interconnected, rapidly shifting world, that no longer works. Emotional intelligence redefines power as relational, not positional. A leader with EQ understands that authority doesn't come from fear, it comes from presence. These leaders are emotionally attuned. They listen not to reply, but to understand. They don't just give directions, they give energy. They don't micromanage. They empower. And because they lead from within, others rise alongside them. Emotional intelligence makes leadership human again. 6. Emotional intelligence is the antidote to burnout. In both education and leadership, burnout is an epidemic. But its roots are not always in workload, they are in emotional depletion. Teachers and leaders often carry invisible burdens. The weight of others' expectations. The pressure to perform. The isolation of decision-making. Emotional intelligence teaches us to notice those warning signs. To regulate stress. To build boundaries. To refill our own emotional well before pouring into others. It allows us to lead without losing ourselves. To teach without emptying out. To serve with strength, not sacrifice. 5. Emotional intelligence is contagious. Emotions spread. They ripple through a room, through a school, through an organization. A teacher's calm can settle a storm of chaos. A leader's panic can infect an entire team. Emotional intelligence is the ability to consciously manage those ripples. It begins with self-awareness, recognizing your own emotional state before it bleeds into your interactions. Then it extends into emotional regulation, choosing your response rather than reacting impulsively. When modeled consistently, this emotional balance spreads. Classrooms become calmer. Teams become tighter. Cultures begin to shift. Emotional intelligence isn't just a skill. It's a catalyst. 4. Empathy is the superpower of education and leadership. To empathize is not simply to feel what someone else feels. It is to suspend your judgment. To sit in their shoes. To see the world through their eyes. In schools, empathy helps teachers reach students across cultural, social, or emotional barriers. It turns discipline into dialogue. It turns diversity into strength. In leadership, empathy is not a soft add-on, it is strategic. It helps teams navigate conflict, collaborate creatively, and sustain trust during change. Leaders who lack empathy may get short-term compliance, but they will never earn long-term commitment. Empathy builds loyalty because it builds connection. 3. Emotionally intelligent leaders and teachers create belonging. At the core of emotional intelligence is the need to belong. When students feel excluded, their motivation plummets. When employees feel disconnected, their performance suffers. Belonging is not about fitting in, it's about being accepted as you are. Emotionally intelligent teachers design inclusive classrooms where every child, regardless of ability or background, feels they matter. Emotionally intelligent leaders foster cultures where all voices are valued. Where identity is not erased, but embraced. Where difference is not tolerated, but celebrated. Belonging isn't a side effect of EQ. It is its ultimate reward. 2. Reflection turns emotion into wisdom. Emotional intelligence is not a moment. It is a mindset. And like any mindset, it grows through reflection. Reflection turns experience into insight. After a difficult day in the classroom, a teacher with EQ will ask, "What was the student feeling? What was I feeling? How could I respond differently next time?" After a tough conversation with a team, a leader with EQ doesn't just move on. They unpack the emotion behind the tension. They learn from it. They grow from it. In both education and leadership, reflection is where EQ deepens. Without reflection, emotion can hijack us. With reflection, it can teach us. 1. The most powerful lesson we can teach or lead with is humanity. At the end of all the policies, all the strategies, all the credentials and achievements, what remains is human connection. Students will forget the formulas. Teams will forget the targets. But they will never forget how you made them feel. Emotional intelligence is not an extra thing. It is the thing. The thing that makes education transformational. The thing that makes leadership lasting. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being present. It means showing up fully, heart, mind, and spirit. Because when we teach and lead with emotional intelligence, we are not just shaping minds. We are shaping lives, and in that sacred work, we find our greatest calling, not to control, but to connect. Not to instruct, but to inspire. Not to manage, but to understand. Because when we lead with emotion and educate with empathy, we don't just change outcomes. We change people, and that, above all, is the work that matters most. Emotional intelligence isn't a bonus skill, it's the foundation of meaningful leadership and authentic learning. In every classroom, every boardroom, and every relationship, it's the difference between control and connection, between managing and truly leading. If this message resonated with you, don't just remember it, live it. Like, share, and subscribe for more insights that go beyond the surface. Because the future doesn't just belong to the smartest. It belongs to the most emotionally aware.